Hello guys, welcome to CyberPod, a podcast series organized by the Cybersecurity student community of SLIIT.
As you can see, you have two new faces here. I am Chamath.
And I'm Abhishek.
So moving on to cybersecurity news, guys. Let's start with a new phishing as a service, PHAAS. There's a new platform has emerged that allows cyber criminals to generate convincing phishing pages with ease.
And Sami, did you know it provides users with a range of templates and tools that can be used to create convincing phishing pages for a variety of purposes.
Yeah, and it also says that the users can customize these templates with their own logos, which makes it identical to the real page.
Yeah, so it might be a thing that you should look out for. And so that is the first news that we have for y'all for today's podcast. Moving on, Twitter has announced that it's finally rolling out to the end-to-end encryption for its direct messages, which is a good thing.
Yes, because end-to-end encryption ensures that only the sender and the recipient of a message can read its contents. Now, this has been available for a while with WhatsApp and other messaging services, but it's also important to note that this will be rolling out initially for the registered users on Twitter.
Premium
users. I believe that is the case. One with the blue tick.
Yeah. So that's it with the Twitter. It's a major step nevertheless, but we'll see what Twitter holds. Yeah, that is true. And moving on to our next news.
Yes, Meta, or formerly known as Facebook, as you all know, now they have, evolved to Meta. Yes, changed teams. So now Facebook or Meta has uncovered a massive cyber espionage operation across South Asia. Now this mainly links to the Pakistani military, according to sources. And
so according to them, they have found out that there's been organizations across India, Afghanistan and other countries in this region, and according to Meta, they have found out around 750 fake accounts and pages and groups
linked to people and organizations, and they have taken them down.
Yeah, which is good.
And what's also good is our country is not in the list, guys.
Yeah,
so it's safe.
That is actually nice to know.
Yeah,
good to know. So for now, they say that everything is sorted out, and we hope that is the case, but do remain vigilant. Do remain vigilant, because you can
you never know.
Yeah, you can actually get into these stuff and have some terrible disasters fall upon you.
So guys, with that, news is over,
and hope you will stay for a while to
meet the special guest we have today.
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
So Abhishek, our special guest for today's CyberPod podcast, joining with us today is Mr. Chamath Rathnasekara. He was top of the first ever cybersecurity batch here at SLIIT. He went to Richmond College, Gaul, and he was an all-rounder. And he is a senior cybersecurity enthusiast, and he is also a defensive security specialist.
And also, Chamath, he has more than 8 years of experience in the cybersecurity field and has worked with information security giants. Mr. Chamath, thank you for accepting our invitation. So without further ado, let's get into the podcast.
Yes. So, Mr. Chamath, as the very first question, we would like you to ask how and what made you choose cybersecurity as your career path.
So yeah, Chamath, first of all, thank you guys for having me here. I know it's a very special opportunity for me as well, coming here again, and a lot of memories flowing within these calls. So it's great being here. Yeah, that's one I think very interesting question, because first ever cyber batch, not something everybody will go for, right? So I think going back, I think this was somewhere back around 2015, I guess. So I remember 2015. Yeah. So at that time we had only 3 specializations initially: the ITSC and CSA. So I guess that's it. So then, as soon as we started cybersecurity, I think my mindset was around, what would everybody else do? What can I do? And I hated programming, to be honest, because I could do it. Yes, I could do it. I can do everything. That's fine. But I hated it. Doing programming and writing code every day. I hated that at one point of time. So I was thinking like, what else I can do? So and I needed to be that area. I needed to be a bit more challenging. So then we fell into this category. That means as soon as Mr. Lakmal and Mr. Amilas, they were like, initially these two are the people who were like pushing to start cybersecurity. So when they said, because I was working with the faculty student community, so I was pretty close with all the lecturers, especially Shamila. So they said to us, there's this thing coming in, you guys should start looking at the cyber field. So honestly, I didn't think it would bring me here. My honest opinion is, I just chose it because others did not. That's my honest way of choosing it. So I think at that time, because we didn't have any idea about what is cybersecurity really. So okay, now hacking, that's the only thing we knew. Okay, there's something called hacker, but nothing about what is cybersecurity. So I think my intention was to basically not go with the flow and select a field where I can like be with kind of a limited bunch and explore more. Not really into learn cybersecurity, but more into go into a different area. That's basically it.
So you basically wanted to stand up from the crowd? And,
not really stand up from the
no,
crowd.
because the majority were doing software engineering.
Exactly. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And
that makes.
And the other fact was you hated coding.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's the gist of it. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I mean, I think we
could
chose
agree
cybersecurity
with
as well.
Yeah. So Mr. Chamath, that was a very good explanation and an answer.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And the second question that I would like to ask you is, what was the industry like when you first started it out? Started going out?
Yeah. So Abhishek, in those days, I think in 2015, now you guys must have seen these advertisements and job descriptions that are floating around, right? Now
Yes.
there are a lot.
Yes.
Those days we didn't have anything, nothing. There's not a single advertisement we have seen in Top Jobs or LinkedIn or anything about cybersecurity. So we didn't know anything. So at that time, I think I can pretty honestly say on 2015, 2016, it was more of a field where seniors, like people who join industry as network engineers, system engineers, they just explore and they just convert to cybersecurity. Not people who gonna specialize security. So they learn their domains like in their own paths. Then suddenly they come up with a security requirement, okay, implementing the network infrastructure or securing it, like securing endpoints. So these areas gradually built up. I think in Sri Lanka, I think first two areas that came up was network security and system security. That's it. Nothing else was there. Governance, these application database security, nothing was there. Right? So mostly these opportunities were flowing in. At those days, not much of diverse kind of a scope as we have right now, but really a kind of a place, as I said, like others joining into another field and then gradually moving on to be a cybersecurity guy. That's what happened those days.
So back then it was like people who had already studied the area in IT field and then transitioned to cybersecurity
Yes.
to get the
Yeah.
particular job.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. That's what happened.
So, Mr. Chamath, the next question we have for you is how has the security operation centers changed throughout your journey? As you have worked with many giants, as we mentioned before, how has it changed throughout your journey, the places?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, John. So the security operations in the sense is now more of an obsolete topic. Now when we speaking about it now. So when I was starting, security operations was a very hot topic. Not in Sri Lanka but in the world. In many areas, security operations. Why? So who is monitoring for you? Who goes to if something is coming into your network? Who knows that? So in many places had these things called NOCs, network operations centers. or network command centers. They were looking at like network traffic, bandwidth, and these multiple areas. But they were not specialized into looking at threats, security threats. That's where this entire security operations picture came in firstly. So when I was joining in, even in Virtusa, for us, like we didn't have a SOC. So the SOC was like initially most companies they have a information security team or a security monitoring team. That's it. So these teams will do like standalone work. They have some tools, individual tools, and they start monitoring. That's the first phase of it. They do it on their own. Like there are development teams, endpoint team, endpoint stuff, network guys do network stuff. There's no kind of like one combined team doing everything. So then I think in let's say 2015 or 16 back, so some companies started like having security operations, but they were like very traditional SOCs. Why I mean traditional is they were looking at like few different stuff. I need to explain a bit more about SOCs if I go this way.
Yeah.
So when SOCs start, everybody is looking at a particular tool. That's we call as a SIM, security information and events management. So most of these startup SOCs, they just have a SIM solution standing there. That's it. They just, it may be some may say that they have a developed SIM, but I know for a fact in Sri Lanka we didn't have at that time like very complex solutions. We had some solutions, but they were like not configured up to that. So starting point, many companies they had this SIM solution and a couple of people wondering it. Then gradually, now these new these new technologies came out. You must have heard about EDR, endpoint detection and response. So it's more of a advanced tool for endpoint threat detection. So then the SOC started to incorporate these events as well separately, and these tools had additional capabilities than the SIM solutions. They could like quarantine malware or like remove machine from the network. These capabilities were there within these tools. So now this collection has now moved on to an entirely different area. So there are two things there. There's a concept called next gen SOC as well as managed SOC. So next gen SOC in the sense is mostly lot of automation is added there. Lot of automation. That means normally a SOC in a normal traditional SOC we have different layers. Tier 1 team, tier 2, tier 3. We have these people, right? So tier 1 guys are the people who go on and just monitor stuff, whatever is coming in. They work 24/7, whatever. So tier 2, then they escalate some things there. Then tier 3 are the specialists. Likewise, the hierarchy goes. So that's a traditional SOC. Now what happens in the next gen SOC is that there's a component called SOA, Security Orchestration and Automation of Automated Response. So what happens is the alerts like events generated by a SIM solution or some kind of a tool, they send into this SOA. Then that SOA automates it. So the responses there, we don't need a guy sitting behind a computer to trigger something. So I'll give you an example. So let's say there's a malware on an endpoint. So SIM detects it. Let's say EDR detects it. EDR sends that event to the SIM. SIM will send that to the SOA. SOA will run a thing called a playbook. So we'll have it's like your flow diagram. So that will have different steps.
Like pre-program steps.
Exactly. It's really easy. It's no code. Like you can just add some kind of steps and say what you want to do. So once that event comes in, what SOA will do the investigation on its own. Okay, is this file malicious? Where did this file came from? So then it will collect that information. Now everything happens on this playbook. We have defined this playbook. So then there's this playbook saying, okay, now you need to go and investigate where else you have seen this file. Whether it's go see kind of a threat intelligence source whether this file is really malicious. So once they collect all this information, they will go to a step like a response step. So the SOA will run kind of an event directly to EDR asking, okay, quarantine the file. Then also it will ask a firewall or let's say a web proxy, you need to add this hash into your definition, update it. So now what happened? Now the traditional SOCs has L1 guys who's going to pick up the event from the scene and do the manual investigation. Now all these steps gone away. The SOC will pick it up and do almost all of this manual work. So that's the next gen SOC part, right? Now the last part. Now what we are seeing right now as a trend is managed SOC. Managed SOC is because most companies they cannot afford to run a SOC because these tools are pretty expensive. EDR, same SOAR is very expensive, very much expensive. Not even in Sri Lanka many companies have that SOC component. So what happens is they tend to give somebody else, okay, you guys monitor, here's our environment, you guys deploy SM here and you monitor it for us and we're gonna pay you for that. That's a managed SOC. So somebody else is managing the SOC for you, right? That's like in a cost wise for the company it's very low. So this is how the evaluation went. I know this in next year or the like in couple of years this managed SOC concept will also go away. There are like new concepts coming in. So it's how this goes right now.
So it has basically evolved because so there are two versions, right? So managed SOCs and the automated one. And the managed SOC is the most popular, like what's most companies.
It really depends on the customers. Like let's say that company's kind of their view. Let's say it's a huge company like Virtusa, for an example. So Virtusa doesn't need to like outsource it to kind of run a SOC solution.
Yeah, they have
the bandwidth to cater that. But let's say it's a small company who doesn't have the bandwidth, then they go for the managed SOC solution. That's how it depends mostly.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So the next question we have for you is, so with the COVID pandemic that we had and the economic crisis that is currently here, what problems or issues have you faced with regards to the SOC?
Yeah, I think not just for SOC. That was a kind of a pretty like shock to everybody. So because we were like, especially in Sri Lanka, we never used to work at home, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of at those days like European countries, US, UK, these guys were working at home. It's pretty common to them. But it was a new concept for us. We didn't know, okay, we can work from home as well. So why did we come to office? So I think at that time, especially for SOCs, the immediate impact was how we're going to collaborate. That's the biggest problem because no one person can respond to a threat or take actions or remediate something. So we need a couple of guys collaborate, investigate to do that. So that was one of the biggest issues at that time. So what happened was like, if we remember, like Microsoft Teams was not much of a popular tool in 2020.
No one has
Yeah, I think most people hated it.
Yes.
Because of it's always coming up
Yes.
like
Pop-ups
and stuff. So most people hated it. But as soon as we went into this working from home, everybody started to embrace that. Now we can run especially like the number of things we can do with Teams right now is like immense. There's a lot of things. So with that, I think for SOCs the biggest impact was, okay, how we're gonna monitor and how we're gonna collaborate, how we're gonna like streamline these processes so that there's no impact. So I think most SOCs and most people who are running SOC, they have to think about how to fine tune their because SOCs run on mainly processes.
Yes.
They define processes and on top of it. And these processes they have to adjust, like if they, let's say they have a notification time or something using a call like a email, now they have to go into a phone call because nobody's here, right? So they need to have a call to the other person and say there's something going on, let's connect. So those adjustments were there. And I think one more thing was like when we go into processes as well, like even especially in a SOC, we tend to look at, you must have seen like those big screens, right? So now they just had one laptop, so they need to focus on that. So they had to reprioritize everything. Okay, if you are working on a shift and let's say you're working on the monitoring shift, okay, these are the only things you need to worry about. Don't worry about the others, because when we were at office, we did 100 different things in the laptop because we had everything up there. So that shift was there mostly. I think there were more problems. I think for SOC guys, we had that biggest issue: how to collaborate, how to connect. So when there's an issue, how we can like escalate, whom to connect. So people had to relook at this entire approach. Collaboration. I think collaboration is the biggest key when it goes into post-COVID.
Yes, so with Chamath, our next question here is asking about how you managed to solve it, but I believe you answered those as well. So how has your experience supported you in decision making when it comes to everything that's related to the work that you do?
You mean what I'm doing right now?
Yes.
Okay, so I think decision making in the sense, I think most of the things we had to look at. So every time when I'm like connecting with like new joiners, interns, and like fresh grads, so the first thing I'm asking them is like, what have you learned? And don't tell me you learned about a tool or you learned about some kind of a technology. That doesn't make any sense, right? What I'm asking is, what have you learned? Explain to me what have you learned. So because the thing is like, ultimately anybody can do it.
Exactly.
That's the philosophy I'm following. I don't think like, no, there are people like, okay, they cannot do it, they can do it best. No, there's nothing there. It's the commitment you put into it, I guess, mostly. So when you I think look at a thing rather than, okay, let's say preparing a report. I'm always asking my team as well when I was at Virgin as well as in Scybers. So when you're preparing a report, just don't do the report. Don't prepare the report because you want to send the report out. Just do some stuff, do a filtration, copy some data and see what it is really. So then, because your mind changes a little bit then. Okay, because you get interested, okay, what is this? I need to prepare a report now. Okay, this data is this. If I do it like this, I will get this output. So he's not oriented in getting a report, but he's oriented in understanding the report.
Right.
So then he will know, okay, I can do it like this much more easier.
Yeah.
I have to do it like this. So I think in decision making, the most important thing is you need to understand logics first. What logic runs behind most of these stuff. So then it becomes pretty easy to like resolve questions. Like there are a lot of the only thing I think I have seen as a team lead and like even as a manager right now. So the biggest things I have seen is problems. So these problems we can resolve like asking very simple two questions. Like, have you looked at this? What do you think is the better way? Simple, right? So there are very, very complex sections every time. I'm saying like when you need to solve a question like a huge problem, but if you take a step back, when you look at it, it's gonna be a very big picture, right? So you need to think about how I can divide this into smaller sections. So then I can resolve this first, because otherwise it's gonna be like a question paper, right? We look at, oh my god, there's a question now, I cannot answer this, what I'll do, like we get panicked and then we don't know, we cannot even answer the question we know. So rather we can step back and see what are the things we can answer first.
Yeah.
Same thing applies. I think decision making is not that much difficult. I think anybody can do it. Just you need to take a step back, look at what can be done and help in that part. It's really easy to solve problems in that way.
Thank you, sir. So our next question is, what kind of certifications should an individual possess or do? Let's say that he or she has had about 2 years experience in the industry. So what kind of a certification would you like propose that they should have?
So that's a very interesting question, Abhishek. So because certifications, I normally consider certification is kind of an accreditation to you.
Yes.
To see, okay, to promote yourself, saying, okay, this is what you have done. I have seen a lot of people who do like certifications every 3 months, 4 months. I have seen people doing that. But my question is, if you are doing a certification, at least you need to spend a couple of months to get ready to, right? If it's a very easy certification, yes, fine. You can do it in a month or two. That's fine. But let's say if you are doing a certification, you need to prepare for it. You need to learn. You need to do the labs. So if you're a guy who's doing certifications every 2 months, my question to them every time is, tell me what have you learned on the certification you did and where did you apply that when you're working. So when that question is there, most of the guys become very silent.
Yeah.
Because don't just do the certification for sake of like adding some some credential to your name, it doesn't make any sense. So because the thing is like now we are in a digital era, we have all these certifications, the content in all these certifications is free.
Yeah.
You can get anything free. So why you spend like millions of dollars, millions of rupees in a certification? Yes, we need certifications, but in the meantime, you can continuously learn using these free courses. There are a lot of free courses. Many things. Now, for an example, for a blue teamer means guys, defensive guys.
Yeah.
So these guys have tools like Cybersecurity, Let's Defend, and we have Attack IQ. So similarly, if you just search defensive security kind of trainings, there are 100 different trainings which you can do free. There's no cost. So when you learn that, because I have seen a lot of people who come in, I have selected people onto like L2, L1, L2 roles. They don't have a single certification, but the answers they are giving, I know. Okay, they have learned this. They have learned the concept and they know what to do next. But I have seen people who have certification who cannot answer that same question. So that's a pretty sad thing in that area. So certifications, yes, do them, plan them. I think mostly if somebody is having, let's say, 2 years experience, it basically depends on where you want to go. If you are a defensive guy, there are a set of certifications that you can do, and they are offensive guy, what you can do. And if you are looking at governance and risk and compliance, ERC, there are a lot of certifications that you can do. So let's say I'll give some examples to each so that I can broaden the scope of this. For a defensive guy, I would suggest looking at like CompTIA. CompTIA has some good courses. Then ELAN Security has some good trainings. Even Easy Council has. So many people don't recommend doing Easy Council. So I think it's a matter of fact, your opinion. Explore the course. Understand the like. There are a lot of write-ups of these certifications.
Yeah.
People who has done that, they put their write-up saying what is their opinion. Go through them. Understand whether you really need it. Is it valuable to you?
Yeah.
So even I did CEH. I did. Easy Council. So many people are saying it's not valuable. So it depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
So because why I did CEH is when I was doing the degree. So our degree program is a new program, right?
Yeah.
So when you are moving into the industry, there were a lot of gaps, which I see like because the content is new. A lot of things we did was self-learning.
Yeah.
So the content was really new. So the industry was expecting something else at that time. So we need to bridge this. So that's the basic reason I did CEH. Just to make sure to get some idea on what is this way. What can I get out of this? So I got most of it. I'm recommending it to everyone, anyone who, but it's up to you.
Yes.
Don't go with the flow.
Yeah.
Think about it, what you can do now. CompTIA courses are really good. CompTIA, they're coming up with a very broad kind of a curriculum in their certification. So ELAN Security, yes, same they have. I think from defensive guys, now you can explore. I don't know you guys have heard about security blue team. So there's a very kind, it's now becoming kind of the gold standard for defensive guys. Security blue team. There are 2 courses called DLT1 and DLT2. Blue team level 1 and level 2. These are very practical trainings. It's a 24-hour exam. You need to write it's a practical exam completely. You don't have anything else. So very interesting. And let's say you go on offensive security. Same, you have courses in ELAN Security and many areas, but the gold standard always comes to offense. There's a certification provider called Offensive Security. Right? They have these OSCP and OSEP. There are a lot of OSE. So a lot of certifications which are kind of the gold standard. Then GRC, you have certifications like ISACA, IC squared, CISA kind of trainings you can start looking at. But what my recommendation is, before moving into certification, just explore what you need to do. And for all these groups, learning cloud is really important. For all these areas, cloud is the next big thing. It's already the big thing, but these on-prem stuff, like the old certifications will go away quickly, and cloud will like overrule everything. So learn cloud. That's it.
So guys, as you heard, any certification is good to have as long as you understand the logic behind it. And before we do it, it's important we we research on it, whether we need or not, whether we actually need or not. So any certification is good to have, according to Mr. Chamath. And so as long as you understand the logic behind and you are able to answer the questions asked based on that certification. So thank you, Mr. Chamath. And our next question is, given your work experience and all the work that you have done previously, there must have been a lot of stress. You have to deal with a lot of people, so different people from different backgrounds, and you have to work with teams. So how do you keep your calm during those type of situations, and how do you manage stress?
That's I think I was not waiting for this question, because that's one of the biggest problems
Yes.
even we faced when we were like initially joining the industry. We didn't feel like we'll face it, but we did. Because for an example, I was doing an internship at my third year here. So third year and fourth year both, I think end of third year I started the internship. So doing an internship, like it's not a 9-9 internship, so we had to work like from 9 to at least 6-7 in the evening. Some days it was like going on till 9 next day, like next morning. So with that we had the research and all the assignments with the fourth year. So now that stress, it's a different kind of stress. So because at that time we were like in internship and studying, we were like very hyped up, right? Even we get fed up, like we can still do it. We can go and do it. But when we move into like industry in a couple of years, especially in SOC, there's a term called, I'm not sure if you have heard about it, there's a term called burnout. So this burnout happens in SOC because SOC is kind of a very, what can I say, it's a kind of a unique role, but it's doing the same thing again and again. There's no much of a difference in what you do, because the same thing you do, it's gonna be a different kind of a thing you're looking at, but it's the same concepts you're gonna apply and do with it. So it becomes boring when you like work on like 1 year and 2 year. If you don't see a career path, okay, this is the next thing I want to do and learn, it becomes burning, like burnt out. So then there are like 10 different things coming in your way, little by little you get fed up of it, and then you feel like, okay, is it time for me to let this go, or what do I do? So even I had that same feeling. Everybody had that feeling if you are in SOC. So I think how you can address that. The important question is, where do you want to go again? So I think when I was joining Virtusa, I had my first CISO, that my boss's boss. Both managers were like, they were really helpful, but the one who interviewed me was the Virtusa CISO at that time, Chief Security Officer. He was Kugan. So he's right now the CEO of my current company. So when I think working with him, it's kind of a very different feeling. So when I was meeting him, like during our internships, he used to come to Sri Lanka and we were having these dinners and lunch outings. So we used to have a couple of good discussions with him. So every time, I think one thing he said to me was, the first 5 years of your in industry is what it'll be your the effort you put in there will define how far you will go in that domain. So that effort, there's gonna be, he said genuinely, he said there are gonna be a lot of work. You need to learn a lot. Don't think about time. Don't think about these unnecessary distractions. Focus on what you want to learn. And the next step, always the next step. Where do you want to go? Ask questions. So that concept was always going in my mind. I know when it comes to work, it will be very stressful. I'll give you an example. Sometimes, I think back at like when I was working at Virtusa SOC, we had a lot of audits and stuff coming in. So for one day we had to work like 15-16 hours. And like now it's already like 10-11, but we had like 10 more different things to do, finish on that day. So the stress was like, oh my god, how can I do this? So but again looking back at it now, even when I felt like now it's time to give up, so when I again look back at it, I say like, okay, if I do this, what can I learn new? So if it's an audit, I have not done audits because SOC guys don't do audits. It's not our domain. So Then I looked at, okay, let me learn how to do an audit. Fine, okay, let me go through this and find out what they are really looking for. So that gave me another way to get out of that frame, like doing the things that you are asked to do. So I had to always look at like, okay, do the next thing, learn the next thing. And I think my managers were like one of the biggest reasons for that, especially Bhuvan and also Mithila, who was like my first manager at Vertusa. Like he was like always saying, he did not like mostly say on how to do it. He just given my name so that other teams could seem to reach out to me. So then the teams were reaching out to me, it was like, oh my god, now who do I reach to? There's nobody else. So I had to go back and learn that and come here so that I don't feel stressed out about it. So that approach I think really helped me. Because of that I give them huge big credit for that, doing that way. So then it gave me a lot of opportunity to learn stuff. So I think how you manage stress is you need to find out your own way. I think mostly what is your balance? What is the thing you do as a hobby? Are you spending time with your family members? Or like now if it's like working from home, it's not you need to work. Most companies you don't need to work straight 9 hours, right? You can break it down, do something in the middle. Likewise. So it's matter of fact getting things done, but how you want to cope that stress. Find your own way. I think there are a lot of stuff to do for that as well. Yeah.
So thank you for that answer, sir. So Mr. Chamath, the next question that we have for you is, in the SOC you have to respond to many incidents and so and so. So the next question is, what kind of methods do you think is effective when responding to such an incident?
Yeah, that's a good question again. So responding to incident, I think mostly it comes down to how do we prepare for that? How have we prepared for that? For an example, if you take ransomware. So if the team doesn't know how to respond to ransomware and whom to reach out, what to do next, what are the immediate actions that they need to do next, then it becomes really harder. It becomes 1,000 times harder, because then once that happens only we know, okay, now let's investigate, okay, we need to do this, but that's not structured. So only thing that matters during an let's say if we identify a particular threat, what matters is time and impact of it. Because if when it extends, like once you detect it, when the time goes, if the impact is increasing, that means there's a huge problem with that. So we need to do that very quickly. We need to take the actions. There are corrective actions, there are preventive actions. So preventive actions we take on later, but the corrective actions we need to do immediately. Find out what to do. So that the planning of it gives the major part of it. So that's where I said I told you about playbooks, right?
Yeah.
That's where playbooks comes into the picture. So playbook is something we can like implement in a tool like so. Again, playbooks we can define for particular scenarios. Like we know most common threats like ransomware, DDoS, phishing and malware threats, data leakages. So what do? We define playbooks to each this scenario. From a detection, how do we detect? Then how do we analyze it? How to respond to it? How to contain it? How to recover from it? And what to do after? So in these each steps, what we are doing is we identify who are the stakeholders and what are the tools involved there. So there may be not just us, the SOC guy. There might be other teams who are involved, like enterprise security, infrastructure security. These guys might be there. So we take, like where this teams comes into the picture, we make sure that everybody is in this playbook, included in this way. So exactly when something happens, we just go back to the playbook and see, okay, what we are doing right, what are the things that need to be changed. So that really helps to effectively like respond to an incident. Rather, like if we don't have, now again this is going back to the process.
Yes.
If we don't have well-defined processes, it's going to be really difficult to respond. And these processes, it's not again you do it, document it today and keep it as it is. Every week you should go back and check it is aligning to the things that we have found out last week or last month. Do we need to do any changes, or do we need to define certain other additional criteria to this? So that continuous going backwards and forths and improving this will make sure that we do like a proper response to an incident. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to do that.
Thank you for that answer. So we discussed about the playbook earlier as well. Now you mentioned that the playbooks are expensive rather than the managed SOCs.
So it's two different concepts, Jamit. So I'll tell you what. So playbooks, there are things called like the SOC, the security automation tool. We can define like the flows that we define in that tool also we call as a playbook. That also we call as a playbook. So these steps in the playbook is part of that bigger playbook, which is on to respond to certain different criteria. So we take that from like it may be not everything. So we can take these analyze first steps, we can take few steps from here, we can take the investigation and response steps. Some steps we take that important steps and put it down into a kind of a brief response steps into SOC, so that tool can do it on its own. Then we go back and look at what are the other things. Especially when something happens, there's a section like there's a major kind of an incident happens. We need to go back and see have we done everything right. That is the like post-incident action, post-incident steps. So that we cannot add into a SOC. That we need to manually intervene and see like have we done the steps right? Does the playbook define the tool needs to be improved? Does the detection rule do we need to do something else? So is our team running the playbook right? Does the tool running the playbook right? So all these things will combine into one to give that right output. So these are not two different things, but it's most of a subset of the major playbook.
So the team needs to be aware and they have to have background knowledge prior to reaching.
Yeah. So I'll explain that. So this playbook, the bigger playbook, it will not just be a security team. It will have like let's say during an incident, you need to make sure to inform if there's a legal like aspect of it. We need to inform legal as well, right? If there's a HR aspect, you need to inform HR.
Yeah.
That part we can do it through a SOC, but most companies prefer to do it separately. All those things we add into this major playbook, like big playbook, which is having the entire picture. So we'll have these steps that it can carry. Because so we cannot expect a SOC to do everything. That's not the basic idea of it. The SOC's basic goal is to automate whatever possibilities to the best extent. Not everything. 100% automation, no, we cannot do that. That's why.
So Mr. Chamath, now I believe most of the people tuning into the podcast are stepping to the third year in the coming few months, and most of us will have to go find an internship and get the work experience in order to pass the module. So can you provide our students with some tips and tricks and advice that you would have for a fresher in the industry who's stepping into the industry?
Absolutely. So that's a very interesting question, because I get asked this question every time I join a session and so on. So I think first few things is understand where you are going into, because it's gonna be a shift of your work and shift of how you think. Because if you expect it to be a lecture, it will be difficult. So you are stepping into an industry like a training period, but that internship, nobody will tell you, okay, now sit down, let me teach you this. No. So expect that change first. Because if you go in there and suddenly get surprised, okay, these guys are not teaching me anything. They expect me to learn.
Yeah.
So that's how it is. Because industry, nobody will ask, okay, sit down with you and train you. So they will give you knowledge transfers on important sections, but I think mostly you need to learn how to do that. So that's why that's an industrial training is. So expect that first. I think next thing is take everything as a learning opportunity. That's the first thing when I was starting the podcast that I said, like, don't just do a task for the sake of completing it. Now, most people, I think I have interviewed more than 200 or more than 300 people last 8 years, from especially mostly from, I think 90% from SLIIT, I guess mostly. So one thing I see is most of the people coming into these interviews, they think that answering few questions will get them in, but they don't understand the interview starts as soon as you submit your CV or resume, or as soon as you connect with somebody else. So the thing is, you need to be ready for what you're gonna go. So if you are gonna submit your resume, people will be looking at, okay, how you have prepared that CV. It's not, a few tricks I'm using, because I need to look at whether in SOC we need people to be very attentive to detail.
Yes.
And these guys need to be very having a good analytical skill. They need to look at the details, understand the things. If there's something out of the way, it will be difficult for us to move forward from that point. So I start that from the initial point as well. How you guys prepare your CVs, or how you guys present yourself first. First impression matters a lot. So I can understand if somebody doesn't, if they just have their name and their some grades and stuff. I know they don't care about joining us, or they just do it for the sake of completing the module. But I have seen people who have kind of I'm not going to say you need to have the best CV of it. You just need to have the right details there that we need to look at. And it's not the GPA. That's a common misconception, that you need to have the highest GPA in order to be selected. No, it's not. We look at how you present yourself, as well as like what can you bring into the picture. Especially the attitude matters. Yeah, there's a concept among almost like most of the industry, especially in cybersecurity, hire not for the skill but for the attitude. Skill you can learn later. That's fine. If you have a learning attitude always, so when I'm asking certain questions, I look for some keywords. Then somebody, if it's saying, if I ask a question, okay, tell me something about ransomware, what do you know about it? So some people start their answer saying, it's not much a big thing, it's like this. As soon as they say it's not much a big thing, that's a straight giveaway that you're not ready.
Yeah.
Straight giveaway. So let's say there's an interesting kind of a thing that somebody says, okay, what do you know about ransomware? How do you know? What do you know about it? So they say something basic. So if I ask, what do you know? What else you know about it? Right now I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I can learn. I'll learn on it my own, but next time I meet, I'll give you a good example, good kind of explanation on it. That shows me they're willing to learn. So that's the attitude we are looking for. So from the point of submitting your CV or talking to somebody, and I have so many people who reach out to me on LinkedIn. There's so many people. So some people just send a message saying internship. You don't believe me how many people have reached out to me just saying nothing, internship, and question mark. They put the question mark by the way, so I know that's a question. So that's not the right way to read somebody, right? So the impression matters again. So that's the first part of it. So again, when it comes back to the when you join a company, look at everything as a learning opportunity. And one more thing I ask everybody to do is question. Ask questions, and if somebody gives you something, don't just do it. Ask that guy a question. So my interns, right now they ask me questions. When I was at Virtuous, they were asking a lot of questions. Why I need to do this? So can't we do it this way better? So we feel that that's where you guys can bring in lot of inputs to the team, because not one person, the manager or the CISO or whatever person, can do everything. It's the feedback that matters, especially when somebody from undergraduate joins our company, like an intern. They look at in a completely different perspective of it, because they are used to this assignment culture. They look at completing that, right? So I see a lot of people who looks at that, okay, why do I need to do it like this? Can I do it like this? But they are afraid to ask that question from the seniors. Yes. I think you should every time question every time, and then you'll be able to grow, because the questioning is where you will learn. Even during my internship, I felt like if I ask the question, will I be like everybody will think I'm a stupid guy?
Yeah.
Exactly, that's what you want. Don't think that they will think it. If they're thinking it, it's their problem.
Yeah.
But I have seen many people who ask me questions, Even now, when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking why I didn't do that in that way, right? That's why it matters. So ask questions every time. And the next important thing is, I think there's a saying: if you think your cup is full, you will not learn anything new. Especially in security, the things you knew like a couple of weeks back, it's already gone. It's already gone. The things I knew about when I was joining as an intern, I have not seen in like 5 years now. Some of those things I have not seen them. So you need to unlearn and relearn of it. Unlearn and relearn is a very important thing for anyone joining the industry. Also, I think now, because we are in a work from home environment, the most important thing for most of the people who are joining now is how well you connect with people, how well you can reach out. I'll give you good example. Even I felt like when I think we came sponsoring for the CTF event here, right? So I was there in that day as well as the day before. So I sat down. I was just thinking. So we have this entire cybersecurity batch there discussing and doing stuff. Nobody came out to me and asked a question. I was wondering why. So I'm a security guy, I was working in the industry. If that was me, I would go and ask a question. Hey, what you're doing, just let me know what other things, important things. That connect is really important because if you guys, I think everybody should have a LinkedIn profile by now.
Yeah.
If you are undergrad, you should have a LinkedIn profile. So how far you connect with somebody, you interact with them, discuss certain stuff, ask questions, and that will be really important. Even I didn't understand that when I was an intern. I understood it much later. Okay, it's having a very big impact. So a lot of these huge companies have reached out to me even to get some feedback regarding their products, because just for the sake of I'm just commenting about them. So that's very important, I think, as an intern or anybody who's joining industry. So some of these important, I think not everybody can bring out everything, but focus on at least getting on some of these important areas. Then you can you can nail it, your internship.
Yeah. So guys, to summarize the answer, you need to have willingness to learn, and it's about how bad you want it. So it's not going to be gifted to us, right, Abhishek? So
Yeah, that's true.
it's all about how bad you want it, and your attitude matters. So, and how you connect with people. So those are the important factors, guys.
And first impressions really matter.
Absolutely.
So moving on
to the last question.
Yes. So while we were going through your LinkedIn account, Mr. Chamath, we observed that you are a musician as well. So how has that supported you in your career going forward?
Okay, that's kind of a very interesting question. So I think music, I think just not saying just about music. So everybody should have a hobby.
Yeah.
But I think for music, it was not a hobby for me when I was schooling. I think long back. So I think I put music first and studies second. That type of guy. So that one of the reasons I think everybody will think A-level matters, right? Even I failed A-level first time just for the sake of it. So because I was very much focused on doing extra work, music, choir, band, whatever is there, I will be there, except this classroom. all other places I was there except the classroom.
Yeah, we saw a video of him singing.
Yes, absolutely. So that was I think I don't regret it, because the thing is I have learned so much more those days than like studying. But I don't say anyone don't study and do extra work, but you need to do both in a balance. So music, I think, mostly helped me more, like even in SLIIT as well, like when we had a break, like a study break. So had some sessions with my friends and stuff. So I used to have a lot of these instruments with me. So how far I'm doing it right now, it's like not much. So when I was like in the first few years of like joining like the industry, I used to do a lot more singing and stuff. So then in the middle, I again completely stopped it. Stopped it means I missed it completely because there's so much work going behind. I didn't have time. Then now again I'm little bit going back towards it because we need to have something other than working so that we can enjoy it, I guess.
Yes.
Mostly. And the stress, I think that question you asked about stress, how you manage stress, is also depends on what you're gonna do. So it's not just for the sake of like doing something, but I think for you to enjoy it while you are working. And sometimes there are a lot of people I know, they don't want to be in IT or an industry for a longer time. So then you need to know what you're going to do next.
Yes.
What you're going to explore. Are you going to be an entrepreneur, or are you going to be starting something else on your own, or what you're going to do? Are you going to be a content creator? So I have seen a lot of people who are in IT field that they don't feel like they need to be here for a long time and they need to move out. So I think it's a matter of fact how well you explore that, how well you get that into your routine, enjoy. Priorities. Fix your priorities on what is more important than what is next. How well you balance it out. So that's what it is basically.
So thank you, Mr. Chamath. So that's all the questions we have for you today. So guys, I hope you enjoyed. This has been a very wonderful session, and I really appreciate you coming here. And we know you have a very busy
Schedule.
timetable and all. Yes, and so we appreciate you coming here and helping out with all the questions. And I believe you guys learned a lot as well.
Yes.
As did we.
So guys, that will be the end of today's episode. Hope you all learned something new and interesting today, and hope you will be here with us for the journey in the future. Samit?
So guys, make sure you like, comment and subscribe so that you don't miss the next episode. And a very special thanks goes out to Tarindu, the man behind the camera. We'll see you soon.